Hello, good afternoon, everybody. I was going to say good evening then, because the last few services and things I've done have been 7 o'clock at night. But no, it's not even good afternoon. It's good morning. See, I'm all over the place today. It's not going to be good. I do feel Spirit are going to be having fun with us, even though we're not doing communications. They're around and they're going to be having a lot of fun with us. I would like to introduce people who don't know to Libby Cook, a lovely medium. I'm going to recommend your page. Correct me if I get anything wrong, because it's quite a long title. Libby's Animal Communication, Healing and Reading.
Private reading.
Private reading. Yes, that's Libby. So if you want to know more about Libby, go over to her page and have a look. She's wonderful, and I'm going to find out more about this animal communication shortly. I just want to say a quick opening prayer just to put this little bit of time we're going to be together into Spirit and God's hands. So if everyone could just join me in the silence for a moment, please, as we say, Heavenly Father, divine, gracious Lord, thank you for allowing us to gather together in your name today. Father, I promise that everything we do will be done with love, with light, and with the best of intentions. I ask Spirit to come around us, to protect us, to guide us in our thoughts, so that we may reach out to people and they may get comfort from the things that have been discussed here today. I now hand this time over into your loving care and keep. Amen. Thank you for everybody who's joining. People will have watched a couple of the last couple of chats I've done, so they'll know what to expect. If you don't, I've set a few little questions, pointers, if you like, just to guide us through a discussion. But as with everything I do, this is your time watching and Libby's time. So please, if you've got questions, pop them in the comments as we're going, and we'll pick up as many as we can. If you don't want to put a comment up yourself, private message Michael, who's sat behind the screen watching. So private message Michael, and he will let me know if there's any questions. So first off, Libby, don't look so tense.
I'm not. I do feel like I'm in the hot seat though, Tony. It's easier doing the communication from Spirit,
isn't it?
Isn't it? Yeah.
I'm quite happy to stand up in front of a hall of 300-400 people and demonstrate mediumship with absolutely nothing in my head at all except for Spirit. But if you were to sit there and talk about yourself for an hour and a half, I'd be like, what?
Exactly.
Okay, so for those people watching, Libby, what are the 3 best things about being friends with Libby?
I'm very high energy, so if people are down, yes, just a little bit. So when people are around me, I'm able to share my energy with them. So if they're feeling down, so we've all got a balance. I love to laugh, absolutely love to laugh. And one of my best friends is called Beryl B. It's not a real name; it's a name I've given her. So that's the second thing, and the third thing is, I've got a lot of love. I'm a very cuddly person, so in church stuff. So if you're not, I'm very personable. I like to give hugs and share the love. So if you're not that type of person, stay away from me, because I'm very full on as well, in a good way.
Bless, that sounds perfect. I love that. I love that you say you like to hug. You're a very tactile person, because Michael and I are very much like that as well. It's at the end of a service, we'll go and give people cuddles, and it's just how it is. And I think doing that, you give healing as well, because human contact is very healing. So I think that's a great thing. I love that.
you always seem to be drawn to the people that need the hugs. It's like a magnet. You know, you just seem to know where to go or to have a chat with somebody. You can just feel their energy a bit down. So it is a lovely gift of just sharing a hug, and it's so simple, a smile.
It is. It's you sound very empathic, just like me, which is amazing in that sense. But don't you find as well being empathic, like with everything that's going on in the United States and with this COVID thing, you feel that energy as well. So you feel the negativity as well as the positivity. Because
a blessing and a curse.
It is. I'm just noticing a conversation going on between Paul Smith and Michael. Paul's asked, why doesn't God listen to prayers about his wife? Paul's wife's very, very ill. She's been on my healing book now for months and months and months. And it's not that God doesn't listen to the prayers, Paul. Please believe me. God does listen. He does hear. But people say to me, why can't God cure everything? God's not in the disease. God's in our reaction to the disease and the illness that's going on. What he's doing, Paul, is he's giving you and your wife strength to cope with what's going on. That's all I can say about that for now, Paul, really. But he is helping in that he's helping you and your wife and those around your wife cope. I have seen your posts on Facebook about the doctors and things. That's a separate issue. But he will provide you the strength to deal with what's going on. Honestly, he will. You've just got to keep the faith. And I know it's hard, but sorry, Libby, I needed to.
No, they've just put healing energy around me. You know, as you was talking to him, they've just put beautiful healing energy around, and they've just said to me that they're sending the healing and the energy, but for the highest good.
Yeah, they will.
It isn't always what we think it should be, but it is what.
No. It's an old adage. I don't know if you've heard it, Libby. That spirit and God will always give you what you need, which isn't necessarily what you want. And I'm so sorry, Paul. It must be devastating and draining. So honestly, just keep the faith, keep praying. We'll keep praying. And I'll put her in my healing book again, and I'll put her all over my healing page. Right. Anyway, sorry. So what was school life like for you, Libby?
Well, I had an interesting school life because we emigrated to Singapore. So I was actually brought up in an American school. Then when I came back to England, so I can't spell very good because I say mom as well instead of mum, because mom is American. And I was taught to spell colour, C-O-L-O-R. So then when we come back to England, yes, I went off to boarding school. But in a good way, because I had my ponies down the yard, So no, I had quite an affluent upbringing. I was very blessed, I must say. I was very blessed. But yes.
Sounds interesting.
But that's why I love the heat, because obviously being brought up in Singapore, I mean, I was only there, we came back when I was about 7 or 8, but we used to have Christmas Day on the beach, and unless it's about 35 in England, I'm not warm. Anyone that tell you will say that I've always got jumpers on, and it's about 22, 23.
Yeah.
Because it's just never warm enough for me. It really is.
Oh, gosh. That sounds fascinating. So you must have experienced a lot of the culture over in Singapore as well then. Was it very different to the UK?
Oh gosh, yes, especially old Singapore, because I don't mind telling people my age. I'm actually 42, and I can remember going to the market, and we didn't know this at the time. There'd be the chickens, and I'm vegetarian now, but Mum would be like, "Choose a chicken," And unbeknown to us, that chicken that we were choosing, she would then take us away and we'd be having chicken that night for dinner. And I never made the connection between, when we were picking our chicken out and the old markets, and next door's had durian fruit. Oh my goodness. The stinky fruit. The hideous smell. And you just put one blob of jam, anything, and just your house would be invaded with these huge ants. And we used to have to get up to go to school. We finished school at 12 because of it being so hot.
Yeah.
It was Tangling Infants. That's where we used to go to school. Yeah. And because me and my twin brother, I'm a twin, double trouble, and we're both blonde, blue-eyed. And over there, that time, so it was good luck. I can't remember if it was with the Chinese, the Malayans, to touch blonde kids' heads. So wherever my mum and dad took us, people just stop us all the time trying to touch our heads because of the blonde and blue eyes. No, it was culturally a lot different. It was a lovely upbringing. It was always hot.
Yeah.
Seeing the dragon races on the beach, and yeah, it was.
That sounds amazing. Really does sound cool. So you've talked about your animal communications, and your page is Libby's Animal Communications. So give us a little bit of an insight into that, how it developed, what it is.
Okay. So I haven't got children. At my house, I've got rescue animals all over. I've always been ridiculously connected to animals. And what I didn't realise as a child, I used to speak to the animals in my head and they'd speak back to me. But and even my, this is going to sound really crazy, my stuffed toys, and I was adamant they were alive, but I didn't realise it was spirit. Didn't have a clue. And I've had horses all my life. I'm a horsey girl, animals all my life. So it wasn't until I came into spiritualism that I started doing it professionally. And I can communicate with animals in spirit exactly the same as how we communicate with our loved ones in spirit, and the animals on the earth plane, it is a telepathic link. So the minute I connect with them, they tell you their personalities. So if you've got a stroppy, moody mare, horse, it will just not want to talk. It'll all be on the mare's terms. Like when we're connecting to our loved ones, instantly in the first 10, 15 seconds, you know all about their personalities. But I also get shown the energy in animals. So I can see where they've got issues. Not that I'm a vet and I don't prescribe, I don't predict or anything like that, but I can tell people where the energy is in their animals. Then you take them to the vets.
Yeah.
It's a tool, a diagnostic tool that's used alongside professional veterinary, obviously. So,
yeah, just like we would with human spirit and human people. When you're doing Reiki with somebody or healing, you can feel where the help's needed, but it's not for us to diagnose, prescribe, or anything. There is an issue around here. Go see a doctor. So you would do the go see a vet.
Yes, and they pop in when I'm doing services, human services or private readings. The animals pop in, and I have to say, look, this isn't an animal reading today. This is, with our loved ones in spirit.
Later. We'll talk later.
Yeah, exactly. My bulldog, when I do animal readings, my bulldog sees them, and all you hear in the background, ruh, 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 as these spirit animals coming in. Bless it.
Oh, bless. Oh, Libby's bulldog is so cute. Absolutely cute. Gorgeous. Yeah.
My breed.
Yeah. Gorgeous.
Can I say his full title? It's Sir Frederick Maurice the First.
Is it?
That's his full. Yeah, he's got a full title. When he lays on his chaise lounge in the garden.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got his own doggy chaise lounge, so he sits there with a cushion and sunbathes all day.
Yeah. I'm just reading a couple of the comments. Everybody's loving the animals. I love animals, especially horses, magnetic animals. They are indeed. There's something about a horse.
They're very sensitive to energies, and although animals have all got the barks, the whinnies, etc., they all communicate mind to mind like we do with spirit, and it's something us humans haven't, quite caught up with. Because animals, and that's why owners, they will in their head say to the dog, "Do you want to go for a walk?" And the dog will start getting all excited. It's because unbeknown to them, they're actually sinking in mind to mind with them. And that's how all animals, whether it's a gerbil or a lizard.
Yeah, our dogs do that. It's really weird. I'll be thinking, oh, it's nearly time for a walk. And they go running off and get all excited and giddy. Even our 15-year-old lab cross, bless her, who's all aches and pains. And yeah, anyway. And Angel Andrews says she uses crystals on her animals when they get poorly. That's amazing. That's amazing.
I know Angel. Can I just say hello to Angel?
Oh, yeah, of course you can. Of course you can.
Hi, Angel.
Yeah. And Paul Smith, we take everyone's abandoned pets, rabbits, cats, dogs, by people who don't want them anymore. I
like that.
Yeah, I do. I mean, our Tia, the old girl, she's a rescue dog. Bless her. She came from the council's pound where they were, on death row. Bless them. Awful, but let's not go down that road.
Animals are rescued.
Yeah, but no, back to the horse. I used to ride years and years ago when I was about 12, I think I was, something like that. And I loved it. I love that connection between the horse and the rider. It's amazing. It really is.
It's magical. And isn't it an honour that an animal, half a ton of animal, allows us to, put saddles and bridles and ride them and become as one.
Yeah.
And they sense your energy, horses especially. That's why when you go into a stable yard and you're feeling angry, your horses will automatically back off you, because horses are very, very, being prey animals, are very, very susceptible to the energies around them.
Yeah. It was a farm that I went to ride on. It wasn't a riding school. And the pony I rode was gorgeous. She was just such a gentle soul. She'd just stand there and let you groom her and do her feet, her hooves. Sorry, her feet, get me. And all the technical terms. And then
give her a pedicure.
Yeah. It basically was. She used to love it. She used to stand there with her feet up, letting you do whatever. Anyway, but there was a horse called Misty, and he was a right stroppy swine. There were only a couple of people who would let near him. And if he didn't like you, when you were grooming him and you were trying to sort his hooves out and things, he'd step backwards onto your foot. And he'd be looking you dead in the eye while he was doing it. And it was like, you...
And he honed his skills.
He did. And if he didn't want you riding him, if he'd had enough, if you were walking like taking him down near a wall, he would start getting closer and closer and closer to the wall and try and trap your leg between the wall and him, like, I want to go home now, I've had enough. I'm not doing this no more. It was hilarious.
Yeah. They have every animal has got a personality, even chickens, lizards. Every animal has got a personality.
An individual personality. It's amazing.
Yeah, they really have. They're all totally different.
Like I said, if you've got questions or any points you want to put across, drop them into the comments box and we'll pick them up as we go along. So what led you into spiritualism and spiritual work?
So this will be what a lot of people come into spiritualism. I lost my mom, and my mom was my everything. She was my soulmate. She was my best friend. She was my everything. And she went to spirit really unexpected, literally in the space of 6 hours. She went from else to talk like me and you are, boom, she was gone. So I was in a dark place, a really dark place. So I've always had a connection to spirit, but I didn't I didn't know what it was. I didn't understand it. So I needed to hear from Mom. So I spent lots of money on going to mediums, psychics, you name it, trying to, connect with my mom. And then I went to Wakefield Spiritualist Church. And so I went there at Christmas, and then I got took to Normanton Spiritualist Church, and the rest is history. But I went searching but I think Spirit sent me there because I had this massive spiritual awakening. And 3 weeks before my mom passed, really strange things were happening. They're not strange now, I understand, but they were preparing me. They were preparing me for mom passing. I had a massive spiritual awakening like overnight, which I know a lot of people come into spiritualism. I was in such a dark place, but out of all that darkness, I'm where I am now, and I've never been happier. So it just shows you that sometimes you have to be in the dark in order to be able to see the light.
You do, indeed. I would completely agree with that. And I also think it's something we've picked up on in all of the chats I've done with spiritual people. As mediums, as spirit workers, you have to have gone through stuff to be able to connect with people in their darkest times. And I think it just prepares you. You're right. I think anybody who walks into a spiritualist church is there for a reason. Otherwise, they would be in the Methodist church or the Catholic church or whatever. They're there because they've had a loss in their life. And yeah, it's so true. Angel's just asked a question, Libby. Do you think that animals turn up on our doorsteps because they've been sent by our loved ones, animals or humans in the spirit realm?
Definitely. Just as 100%. I was sent my Baris because Whiffington, Tippy Whiffy Whiffington the first, who had been in a cage for 8 years, my other bulldog, I lost in December. And they will also send animals further along that are very, very similar to the animals that we've had in our younger days. Like the energy is very, very similar. Like,
yeah.
So they do just how we're always sent from spirit, to help us grieve and get over things. Animals will turn up and be put in our paths to help us heal. And animals are the best healers on the planet. They really are. Unconditional love. They live in the moment. I like to think animals were put here as the greatest healers. Because my Baris, when I lost Whiffington, you see, look, it's welling me up now. She comes around me and I just miss her so much. Even though I get to see her, in the spiritual meadows. So yes, definitely is the answer to that question.
Yeah, I believe so. Just in the same way that spirit will put people in your path that you need at that time to either learn something from or, just to heal that part of you. Animals are the same. I mean, if I go downstairs and I feel really rough, the dogs just come sit on my knee and have a cuddle and, oh, come on, Dad, feel better.
Yeah.
It's lovely. Oh, the comments going up about people's experiences with their animals is amazing. I wish I could put them all up and read them all out, but we'll be here all day. But yeah, animals are wonderful. I love them.
Yeah, they really are.
They are fabulous. So for you, what are the big positives about working with and for spirit?
It's been able to deliver messages from our loved ones that change people's lives. Because my life, which I was in such a dark place, Tony, when I lost my mom, and I went to Normanton, and I got a message from my mom, and in that instant, I went from being in a dark, dark place to just getting a bit of light. And what a powerful gift from spirit that we can touch people's souls down here and prove that life is sorry, someone's stepping in. Prove that life is eternal, and our loved ones, they haven't gone anywhere. They are still with us. They just haven't got a physical body. And it's the purity and the love that you can bring as a medium. And spirit will always give your recipient what they need. You know, it's laughter, the healing, the proof. And you can't get a greater gift than that. You really can't.
No, you can't. It is, and it's, I don't know if you find this, Libby, but when you've done a demonstration of mediumship in the car going home or tackling everything down like this, taking the computer off the desk and stuff, you'll think there's that one message that you've given and you think, that's why I had to do this tonight. That's why I was in this church tonight, to talk to that person and give them that message. I was in a church in, people who've watched a lot of my stuff will have heard this story before, but I was in a church over in Manchester somewhere, and it was the last message of the night, and I'd actually said, thank you for working with me tonight, and I was starting to wind down, and this young man came in and took me to a young girl sat on one of the first few pews, and all I did was that. I said, I don't know why I've just got to put my thumbs up, and our brother was coming to the end of his life and he couldn't speak. And he used to say good night and I love you by doing that.
Wow.
And there were no words that I just said that I've got to leave you. And she flooded to tears, as you would, happy tears. And I thought, that was it. That was it, you know.
And it's true. Spirit like that. You see, they're changing the energy around me. Anyway, but it is. It's just the one message. They made me go on my page the other day, impromptu. And when I started the live feed, I said, I've had to come on. Spirit told me there's a message I've got to give. And exactly the same thing. Because that message was needed in that moment and it had to be then. And what a gift that just that alone would have changed everything for her.
It was. So, I mean, when people are sat in circle, I've been in a few circles where messages have come out and they haven't been huge. They've been a couple of words. And to the recipient, they mean everything. It's that proof that if you go to people and say, have you got anything to give off? And it's like, oh no, just I've only got little bits, so I'm not going to bother. And I'll say to people, and Jean says to people, those little bits could be what somebody's waiting 20, 30 years for. So give it. If you've got something, give it. I did see a question from Julie Dallison. Do you think dogs who are rescued are sent from spirit? That's similar to the question we had before. I would think yes.
I think, yes. I think the animals you rescue, you are put with them because how your energy is and how your energy is in your house is what that dog needs. So my Whiffington, I've been in a cage for 8 years. I live by myself, and she was just totally shut down. So she needed to come to me, and same with Boris, because he's a rescue. But they will match you and put you in the path of, you know, where your energy, just how we blend with humans and our energy, you know, blend. It's the same with the animals. So yes, I do think that animals, whether they are bought animals or, you know, when you go to see a litter of puppies, you're drawn to one. And the reason you're drawn to one is because of the blend, because of the energies. Or they choose you. You know, they'll wag the tail of it, or they'll do something funny, or spirit just put something in your head. And well, actually, I'll take that one. And
That's the one. Yeah.
They help us all the time. So yeah, they do. They find us.
And if I can just expand on that a little bit, our border collie, we'd lost his partner. They'd been together for years, and we lost Holly. and we thought we'll rescue a dog. So we took Paddy up to the local rescue centre, and we were walking around, and he sat down outside Tia's cage, and we were sort of sniffing at each other. So we took them into a field to see how they got on, and bless them, they started having this big scrap, and then just started playing with each other. So we brought her home, and I honestly believe we were chosen for Tia by Paddy because we lost him not long after we got her. And you're going to hate me for this, Libby, but I want to say she just wasn't a nice dog. She really wasn't. I don't know what she'd gone through, but if we were in the living room, she'd be in the kitchen. And then when we walked into the kitchen, she'd come into the living room. And it literally took about 4 years before we'd managed to bring her out of her shell. And I think we were chosen for her by Paddy because we would have had that patience with her. Another family with kids might have been, oh, she's a horrible dog. Can't get near her. So, we'll turf her out again. And now she's absolutely gorgeous. And we know she's coming to the end of her life. She's 15. We know we haven't got that much longer with her. And she's got tumours in her anal glands and all sorts of stuff going on. But we are still the right family for her because we let her do her thing. Yeah. If she wants time on her own, she goes in the garden and lies down under the chairs, and we leave her there because she just wants some space.
You see, and that's what I've got a new rescue dog, Ella, and it took me 10 weeks for her to even come out. That's how shut down she was. Yeah, I'd sit and do healing on her. And people have to remember that you have to allow animals to decompress. You don't know what they've been through, and you were definitely chosen, like Ella. Came into my life because of the calmness and the patience and no expectations. You had no expectations, Tony, of her, and I haven't got expectations of Ella. It will all happen when she's ready. Even though I do healing on her, it has to be. And people do need to allow animals. Yeah, you wouldn't go up and expect a human to warm to you, and it takes time to build a friendship with somebody on the earth plane, and it's the same with our animals. Even if your energies are correct for each other, you can't expect too much too soon.
No. Samantha from the Netherlands. Oh, Netherlands. We have people.
Oh, international.
Yeah. Can either of you tell me if I'm doing okay? That for me, that's a tricky one, Samantha. I would say if you feel like you need to ask that question, then there's something that you're dealing with. And like we were just saying about animals needing to decompress, you have to give yourself time to get through things. I know we're not doing spirit readings today, but you've asked the question, so I'm going to respond. But if you've asked the question, then there's something that you think isn't right. So trust your instincts, and spirit will lead you where where you need to be. I don't know if Libby's got anything, but
They just brought a lot of energy, a lot of turbulent energy going. But we're not doing readings. But remember that stuff we go through, there is always light at the end of it. There is always a way forward.
Yeah.
I don't want to do a reading, Tony.
No, I'm not doing a reading. That's not what this is about. It's about.
Look, the energy's going. Oh,
gosh. But I know I feel like you need to listen to this conversation because we talked about that earlier, that going through the darkness leads you to the light. And, and another one, I don't know who it was, sorry, Divas Coulomb. Dad's ashes in home. Your spirit, your parents, when they pass, they don't go anywhere. They'll stay with you. They'll only be a thought away. They're around you just like physical people are, but you just know that spirit are always with you when you need them. I mean, if you've got a large family, they'll obviously go visiting everybody in the family, but they're always around their loved ones. They don't go anywhere. I don't know if you agree, but yeah. Whether the ashes are there or not, spirit will always be around you. The ashes are just the earthly remains of your dad. And if you want to keep them at home, keep them at home. If you want to scatter them at sea, do what you want with them. But your dad won't go anywhere. He will always be around you. And I'll hand over to Libby again, because this is about...
No, it's so true, though. And they send us signs. Spirit send us signs, don't we, Tony? All the time. And if you don't know what to look for, you miss the signs. And I can imagine that from the other side, your loved ones at times are just like, well, how many times do we have to send white feathers? Or how many times do we send the robin or the pennies? And start looking for the signs. They've just floated a feather down. So you need to look out for a feather. You've either found a feather or you're going to, literally.
Yeah.
Like today. Because they've floated the feather down.
Lyrics of songs do it for me. That's how sometimes they get my attention. If I've not been listening, certain lyrics come out or a certain song will come on and I'll think, oh, sorry, Grandad. You know. Haven't been listening, have I? You know.
Do white feathers and butterflies. And at work yesterday, as I stood on a white feather, a butterfly flew across my face, a real one, not a spiritual one. And I laughed because I'd asked them something that morning. And I just was like, thank you, Spirit, because they are just so fantastic at, showing us they are around.
Definitely, they do. And I mean, when you're open to spirit like we are, it's literally a poke in the back sometimes, they're like, oh, okay, sorry. This sounds strange, but I don't have much to do with mediums. When I came on, I had to listen. Thanks for this. That's Samantha from the Netherlands. Bless. You're not only international in the Netherlands, there are people watching from South Australia as well. So you broadcast around the world, dear, around the world. I know.
Good day, mate. Is that Australian? Good day, mate.
Good day, mate. Or good evening down there. Yeah.
Oh, good evening.
So we talked about the positives with the spirit world, but on the flip side, what have you found to be the negatives or the downsides, or
not with the spirit world, but we often find the negatives with people on the earth plane. In the early days, you are super excited about working for spirit and not shutting down and being disciplined. In the early days, saying to spirit, this is my time, because you're so giddy, or I was. Oh my goodness, I was giddy. Super giddy to it. So that's something I have to learn. But what I've noticed is everything in life, as you go along your journey. Oh, Ireland here. So we are international. As you go along your journey, you will meet people and they won't be left behind. That's the wrong word, but you'll meet other people. But I've noticed that people like to compare mediums, and nobody will always where we're meant to be. And so it's with the human aspect. And as long as you go and try to serve spirit with love in your heart, it doesn't matter how the messages are, as long as you go there with beautiful intention. And I wish people wouldn't compare us or say, well, they didn't have a good service. The fact that person's got up that day and decided to work for spirit, it is enough, because it's, what's in your heart and you're following it. So it's the people on the earth plane that can be the issue, not the spirit world.
Yeah, that is so true. I've found exactly the same thing. It's like you want to get out there and work, and a lot of churches, I find, say, well, we won't book a medium unless we've seen them work. Well, how are we going to get to work if nobody gives you a chance? If every church is saying we won't book you without seeing you demonstrate, where do you start? And that's the thing with Jean, myself, and Irene. When we work on platforms, we're never afraid to take somebody different with us and get people out, people who are trying to come up and start their, not career with Spirit, but their path, their journey with Spirit. Just to get them out there, because there are a lot of people that I have conversations with who say you just can't get started because people, and a lot of churches book the same mediums every year. So they book up for the full year. Where's the space for different people getting different mediums in, getting new mediums in to do different things? And yeah, I do understand what you're saying about, oh, well, so-and-so works better than him, and it's not better, it's different.
It's not fair.
It's not.
And people forget that just being mediums, they are teaching us all the time. So when a service doesn't appear to go well, we have learned and we would have grown so much from that service, ready to pass on even more in-depth messages.
Yeah.
And people don't look at the bigger picture. They just judge you in that moment. And it's not very fair.
It isn't, because I find different guides step in with me to teach me different things. And while you're still building that relationship with your guide, it can be a little bit hit and miss, because
it's like a bug's been pulled from under one's feet at times.
And it's like, well, what are you showing me? I don't understand. What's that? Oh, Paul, I remember that. Yes, that was awful. A medium told Paul on his on Facebook that his wife was chosen to suffer all her life until her time comes. Nobody does that. No spirit, no God would choose somebody just to suffer. And like I said, I think that was the first time I said to you, Paul, God isn't in the illness. God is in our attitude to the illness, our response to it. God hasn't chosen your wife to suffer. She has earthly illnesses and earthly diseases, and it's how we deal with that is where God is for me. And we had that discussion, Paul. So I know Paul had said he would never ever watch a medium again, but happened to catch one of my demonstrations, bless him. But no, back to Spirit and churches. I like churches and centres that are open to different things. I went to a local church and did tie-dye readings. My hubby and I do tie-dyes. And I dyed a load of squares and just went and said, can I do readings with this? It was absolutely amazing. But they gave me that chance to do something different, because when I was doing my tie-dye, I would say, oh, I can see a dog in that, and I can see, and it just gave me that inspiration to try it, and it's brilliant. Brilliant.
That's fantastic. I love that.
Tie-dye squares, it's brilliant. So I've sort of cribbed this next bit from Oprah Winfrey. She went on a chat show, and they asked her a question at the end, and she said, oh God, I can't answer that. Give me a minute to think about it. And it was, the question she was asked was, what do you know for sure? Right now, in this moment, what do you know for sure? But I've sort of cribbed it a bit and changed it. And it's, what are you absolutely certain about in life?
I'm absolutely certain that we go to Spirit and that we just lose this physical body, and that our loved ones and us, and we get to go back home. It's going to Spirit is going back home. And death isn't something to be feared, because it is just going back home and just, losing this. The essence of us is still And that, yeah, from your darkest moments become your brightest moments. They really do, you know. And it's the balance. Everything in life, I know, has got to be a balance. So in order, we have to go through bad. Otherwise, how would we treasure and think how precious the good times are? You have to.
Yeah.
So that's they've just shown me scales. Thanks, Spirit, they helped me there.
Yeah.
But
I completely agree with that. It's if your life was rosy and wonderful and full of joy all of the time, it would become normal. And I feel that would be wrong, because we should always appreciate the joy, the good, the beauty around us. So yeah, I completely agree with that. And I saw a thing on Facebook. I don't know if you've seen it. It's a picture of a lady taking a transition to spirit and the family grieving around her. But up above is this lady stood with her family, giving her a cuddle and a joy, and you know, and it again, like you talk about, it's balance. The sadness and grieving here and mourning, but joy and welcoming and up in spirit. And it is, Pat Piercy's just said, it's a transition. It is. We come from spirit, live as a spirit being in a physical body, and then go home again. It's wonderful. Wonderful. It really is.
Spirit, did you see what they did to my screen? It was flashlight mad. Spirit really liked that, Tony. That was their approval.
They really did, don't they?
They eloquently put.
And the other thing I think is, while we grieve the loss of the physical being, we should remember that spirit is still here. We can't see them. And that for me is what I grieve now when I lose somebody. It's, well, I can't give them a cuddle and I can't go and sit and have a cup of tea with them anymore, but I know they're still around and they're still here. Yeah, I like Michael's point. We're just energy that's constantly changing its form. That is so true. That is so true. And I had to disagree once. Michael and I went to a spiritualist church, and the guy's philosophy was about how, as spiritualists, we have a responsibility to tell people they shouldn't grieve at funerals because their loved ones haven't died. And I thought, no, everybody has a right to grieve, because, like I said, you've just lost the physical person and you still grieve that loss. And I believe when spirit have gone home, they still grieve a bit because they can't come and cuddle you. And yeah, exactly. So grief both sides. And I just thought, oh, that was a little bit naughty. You shouldn't say that, because, you know, you can't tell people how to live their life. You've got
and how to grieve, especially.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, grief's an expression, and everyone grieves differently. There's no right or wrong, and grief's a different amount of times. You can't. How can you tell somebody not to grieve in a philosophy? That's blown my mind.
Yeah. We've got a question from Divas again. Sorry to ask. Don't be sorry. Don't be sorry about asking questions. I love questions.
My comment fits.
I really need clarification. If you've been rejected by your family and are alone, does this change when you die? You're never alone, Divas. You're never, ever alone. You will always have spirit with you. So don't ever feel you're alone. And if you've been rejected by your family, that for me is your family being unable to accept something about you, your life, whatever that is. once you transition, then no, not even when you transition. Sorry, I'm thinking this through, Libby. Spirit don't care about race, color, gender, sexuality, anything like that. Spirit love you as the spirit being you are. So it's your physical family on earth plane have learning to do, obviously, to learn to be open and accept whatever the changes are in your life that have made them feel like this. What I would say is, and I'm probably picking up on stuff Libby would say, but when somebody transitions and they've rejected somebody in life for whatever reason, they've got learning to do, and spirit will help them when they get home to understand what their thought processes were and things. So just know that the people who are in spirit love you no matter what. There will be people on earth who love you no matter what. And the people who have rejected you in the physical, when they get to spirit, will learn the lessons they need to learn. Otherwise, they won't grow and they won't progress. Because when you go to spirit, you still learn, you still progress, and you still develop. Libby, have you got anything to add?
Remember,
to that?
you can't change the people around you. You can only be true to you and true to what's in your heart and true to yourself. So even though it can sometimes be a lonely road to start with because of people rejecting you and people around you, remember that spirit will always put people in your pathway, so that will not last, and you are never alone. But always stay true to you. You can't change people around you, but you can only, stay true to yourself. So
Yeah.
you won't walk this path alone.
No, never.
Spirit will put people around you. So.
Definitely. And what I would say, and I am evangelical, but what I would say is I have found the religion of spiritualism to be the most open, welcoming, don't give a hoot about who you are in that sense. They just welcome you with open arms, because what we understand as spiritualists is there's no color in spirit, there's no gender in spirit, there's no sexuality in spirit. You're just a spirit person to be loved for who you are. And the other thing I want to add to this is Divas, wasn't it? Don't ever live, like Libby said, a false life because to fit in with other people. Live your life, be true to you, and spirit will love you no matter what. Paul's just asked, where do unfriendly spirits come from? I don't know if you want to
this
start.
one's for you, Tony. You can answer this one.
Right. It's something my dad was quite shocked about, actually, when I was talking about somebody that a family member that I'd experienced from spirit. And I said, oh, God, and they're still grumpy and this, that, and my dad said, what do you mean? You mean they're not like playing harps with wings? And I said, well, no, why would they be all sweetness and light now because they've gone to spirit? You are still the person you are. So if you're a grumpy old so-and-so on earth, you're going to be a grumpy old so-and-so in spirit, just without a body. And yeah, you might change because people change anyway. I was a really grumpy so-and-so. Don't you say anything, Michael. But you evolve, and spirit people evolve. So it might be that people do turn into sweet, loving people in spirit when they weren't on earth, but the other way around as well. You might still stay a grumpy old so-and-so all the time you're in spirit. So that's where they come from, Paul. It's the fact that they weren't really that nice of people when they were on earth plane, so they're not going to be that nice of people now that they're in spirit. And all we can do is pray for them and pray that they see the light and they learn. But if you feel like there's something negative around you, you can protect yourself by asking spirit to stand with you and to only allow love, light and positivity into your life. Because if you're holding negativity and you're attracting negativity, then you need to change how you think. Paul says, oh, I've got no chance then. I'm going to be a badass gobby spirit.
I love it.
I love that, Paul. You stay true to you, mate. Stephen. Yeah, you stay true to you, pal.
No, exactly.
No, that's where they come from. And if you feel like you've got somebody around you who isn't all they should be, then pray for them and ask spirit to come stand close to you and allow only the positive and the highest and the brightest people next to you. And it does work. It does. And that's all I've got to say on that one. I don't know if you've got anything to add to that, Libby.
No, it was eloquently put, but it is our thoughts are living things. So sometimes we can feel what we think are negative people around us, but it isn't. It's actually our own negativity, our own negative energy that we're sort of feeling as well, because they are living thoughts. So if you're always negative, you're giving out negativity and you will attract negativity back. If you try and twist that around and put out positive thought, put yourself in a positive energy bubble, or that's what I do. I live in a positive Libby Land energy bubble as much as possible. And it works quite well for me.
It does. It does.
Yeah.
I mean,
try and put out. I wish they'd stop doing that. Sorry, Spirit. It's trying to, because I just keep changing the lights, on my screen.
I know it's just their energy, and it's your energy as well coming through. It's really good. It's really good. When you did the service at Pastures Green, the number of people who said, "Oh my God, I want a little bit of what she's got," because it's just that positivity that comes out when you're on screen. It's amazing. Can't wait to meet you in person.
And I've got a twin brother. Can you imagine my poor mother? So she had 3 children under 24 months. And me and Tony are as hyper as each other. And we were so naughty. We really were. Bless her.
I've just seen a lovely comment from Tracy. My mother-in-law was horrid before she passed, but she's apologised now in spirit. That's great. It just shows she's growing, it's developing. And I think when you go to spirit, I don't know about you, Libby, you get, you talked earlier about seeing the bigger picture. I think when you go to spirit, you get to see the bigger picture and the impact you've had on people during your lifetime. And it's then that you think, oh, I shouldn't have done that and I should have done that better. And that's your chance to grow and develop and become. All spirit and God want from us is to be the best person we can possibly be, whether that's like at school, just getting C's all the way through, or getting A's all the way through, or just be and achieve what you.
Just because you only got C's.
I didn't just. I didn't do very well at school. I did all of my learning afterwards. My school life wasn't very nice, but there we are. But it's about just doing the best you can. I was a governor at a school, just to give a bit of a context to this, and we would have governors meetings, and it would be, what are we going to do to get these kids to achieve 5 GCSEs at, grades, whatever, and above. And I thought, I'm not interested in that. All I want to know is that we are enabling these kids to do the best they can. If their best is a C, then that's fine. Absolutely amazing. As long as they're doing the best they can. And that's what God and Spirit want from us, to just be the best we can. And like Libby and I said to Divas, to be true to who you are as a person, and not to feel judged or punished or rejected because you are who you are. So anyway, I will step off my soapbox now.
It sets you free being who you are. It really does. It does set you free, because you can just, and people will be, that are meant to be around you, will be attracted to the true you. And you will then just blossom. You really will.
You will. And Divas, if ever you need to talk or you feel like you want to reach out, I'm more than happy to have a conversation. So just drop a message and we can chat. But that's the end of my list. We've come to the end. Thank you so much for sharing this time with me, Libby. It's been absolutely amazing.
No. Thank you, Tony. It's been fantastic.
It's just so, it's wonderful to hear other people's perspectives and how other people's journeys and how they've learned and grown and become the people they are. And you have been an inspiration to people today. So keep doing what you're doing. I can't wait to meet you again.
I know. I'm bringing Breeze the Bulldog to Bridlington so he can have ice cream and fish and chips, and then I'm coming to do a service, correct? Yeah, the churches are open again,
Yeah. And when you are able to work physically and go places again, Libby, if you want to share some of your events and where you're going to be to my page, that I'm more than happy for you to do that as well. So if any of my people who are watching are near to where you're going to be, they can pop along and see you. So just pop them on. That is,
appreciate your support, Tony. You're awesome.
No problem
Muchas
gracias. Just look back at the comments when you get a chance. There's been some wonderful comments going up. So much love for you around today.
Thank you, and I'm sending all the love back out. So thank you so much to everyone, and to Tony and Michael.
Like I said, Libby's page, I will share a link to it on my page if you want a one-to-one reading or whatever with Libby, because a few people have said they would love a private reading. So I'll share the link.
Super stuff, because I go live off my page. I've had to get a technical issue sorted, and Tony and Michael, bless them, not are they fantastic people and mediums, they're also very tech savvy. So they're the full package. They are a triple threat.
Thank you so much. I would just like to round the conversation off with a prayer just to close down and give everything back where it should go, if that's all right. Heavenly Father, divine and gracious Spirit, thank you so much for allowing us to share this time together. Thank you for the people who've spent this time with us. Thank you for the wonderful inspiration that's come from Libby today, the wonderful energy that we've had time to share. And I would ask, Father, that any energy that we've created during this conversation go out around the world to the places you know it's needed the most, Father, to those who are suffering in mind, body and spirit, to those taking their transition, let there be love and light to guide them safely home. Father, send the energy out to our animal kingdom, because we know at this time animals aren't always treated the best and are taken advantage of in many, many ways. And now, Father, I hand back to you all which is rightfully yours, all the love, the honour and the glory. Amen.
Amen.
Again, thank you so much, Libby. It's been absolutely wonderful to spend this time with you, and I hope to talk to you soon, love. Bye for now.
You will.